Independent, that's what you say you are. You do it on your own. You don't need nobody help. You don't need nobody in this world. And I get that. I like that. I used to think the same way. You know, like we gonna get it on our own. We don't need nobody else in this life. Trust me, I used to think that same way. And then you got people who's here and they need people in their lives and they want people in their lives. And sometimes they feel bad for wanting people in their lives because they think that's weak. And you know, sometimes we think it's bad to want somebody in our lives, you know, because typically, you know, sometimes associated with lack of a personal relationship, lack of self-love, stuff like that. And you know, certain things on that manner where we feel that, you know, we see people who want people in their lives and we almost criticize them for it. Like, you don't need these people, boo, just pick yourself up, right? I'm gonna tell you this. Neither y'all wrong or right. I think y'all just got y'all's own place. And I think eventually at the end of the day, everyone ends up at the same destination. I think everyone everyone will. Okay? And basically this is my well, not my argument, but my perspective. I don't like the word argument because then it's like you guys are gonna attack me in the comments, I'm gonna attack y'all. No, nothing like that. It's not like that. But this is a genuine discussion on my take on independence versus dependence. I've been on both sides of the ground. I have. I've seen both of it. And this might be a fairly long video. I'm not going to bullshit, but basically, for my time with independence and my time with dependence, I'm going to tell you what I like about them and what I don't like about them. And really what the ultimate thing will be. We are raised in a culture where independence is flexed. You know, doing it on your own, getting it by yourself, it's a big thing. It's a big accomplishment. It's something to really be proud of when you can do that. People really get praised for that shit. And it's big, you know, when we could be our own island and do our shit ourselves. It's big. It's respect. People like that shit. It's a turn on, you know? Shit gets vaginas wet and dicks hard. It really is good. So, independence has been a really big flex for this society. You know, typically in America. I don't really know much about the others, but... Right? I'll tell you what I like about independence. I know what it's like to be a lone island. I know what it's like to be the guy that's like, I can do this shit myself. I don't need nobody else in my life. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. And yes, in a mentality, that's great. But also at a time, it's hindering. So really, you just gotta understand the balance. So what I'm gonna tell you about independence is what I like about independence, right? I believe everybody needs to go independent at some point. I believe everybody needs to become their own island at some point, because what I think it allows everyone to do is it allows them to have a self-explored relationship, right? When we ain't got nobody else, or we don't want anybody else in our life, or we feel like kind of unwanted by everybody else, I think going into that lone place is necessary at some point in all of our lives, right? Because that allows us to form that relationship with ourselves. That allows us to form something with ourselves, a true relationship, a true bond, right? And we realize that because when I was independent, right, when I started to take that lone island mentality, I noticed how much I started to recognize myself. I noticed how much I started to love myself. I noticed how much I really started to become conscious about who I was and what I wanted, because I was no longer worried about anybody's opinion. I wasn't worried about nobody else. When I put it all out of the way, it was very easy for me to develop a sense of identity and a very strong relationship with myself when I said I was gonna be independent. When I said I was gonna be myself, for myself, right? I like it. Independence is dope. I think it's the best way for us to develop a sense of identity for ourselves and not for anybody else, right? So I think it's great. Everybody needs it at some point. Everybody does. You know? We all need that. Kind of just that isolation for a bit. It's not the greatest thing, and it hurts. But I think it really gives us the toughness. But that is the con to it, is the toughness. I don't like what independence does to some of us, and it's happened to me, is where you get so comfortable with that island mentality that when people really do try to come into your life, you're gonna have a very difficult time trying to let them in, because you're gonna think you're too good for it. You're gonna think that you don't need it. You're gonna realize how good it is to be on your own, and you're just like, nah, I don't need nobody in my life. Fuck them. Like, I've done this shit long enough. I don't really care about nobody else. I can do my own stuff. You don't really let nobody in. You think you're too good. You tend to develop your own mentality towards things, and in a sense that actually becomes a hindrance. I know you guys don't think that way, but I'm telling you it is. Like, y'all run y'all's mouths hard when it comes to it, because we close ourselves off from everybody, we become uninviting of the world, and we try to do it on our own. And there's a lot that comes with doing wrong, because what happens is that coping mechanisms kick in, right? When you encounter isolation, you try to adapt, you try to basically wither any emotional needs out of your life. This is a big one between all independent people right here. Emotional needs are no. Like, we don't get them. We don't, and we try to cope with them. You don't believe me? Watch it. Watch independent people. They don't care, or at least they try not to care about their emotional needs, right? They ain't got time for emotions. That's what some of them will tell you, right? And while it's great to think like that and not to let that hold you back, I'm at a pretty big disagreement with that, because this is why dependent people actually have some fucking sense when it comes to this shit. But there's definitely a big con to dependence as well. So, independent, you know, I feel you guys don't want to, because of those coping mechanisms that have to be taken in to actually even survive on a lone island mentality, you hold yourself back from other people and emotional needs that you don't have yourself, that you haven't met, right? So this is where dependence actually comes into sense. And this is where I started to find myself becoming okay with depending on somebody, right? With all of us, it gets signified as a weakness, but I realize this: we're not lone people. We are all one. I'm like, dude, watch this car behind me. Ready? It's a Cadillac, bro. It's a fucking Cadillac. I mean, this shit is nice. Me and him, we know different. He ain't gonna be, you know, he might, you know, me and him could both be like, oh, we on our own. We don't need nobody else in this world, bro. Like, I get my own shit. I don't need you. But man, you know, I could be smart like that. Be like, I'm gonna get to your level. I don't need you to teach me nothing. It's like, I don't really fuck with you. I don't really know you like that. I ain't gonna discuss with you. Or I could be smart. Maybe this guy might actually have some knowledge. We might actually communicate some things together. We might actually get to know each other. And bam, you know, next thing you know, I learned a few things from this guy. This guy might be a great guy. But because of my independence, I go ahead and push him away, because I don't need that shit. I'm gonna get it on my own. But someone smart realizes I could probably learn something from this guy. Now, again, we might not. You know, it's just a fucking stereotypical reference. But anyways, the point is, you guys tend to push. Now, dependent people can actually be a little smart about this, right? Because what I found is that when I started to have people that wanted to come back into my life, or new people that did want to come into my life, I found myself over time becoming a little more inviting of it. Why? Because I realized people are good. Because there is good people out there. There are people who actually care. There are good people. Not everybody's bad. Not everybody's fucked up in the head. Not everybody's got some crazy shit going on. People got some sense. And I realized that, and I decided to give people another chance. And when I gave people another chance, you know, I really started to realize that there is a lot I can learn from these guys. There's a lot that they give me. And that's where dependence comes really into major effect, is that dependent people, right? We know how to be comfortable with depending on somebody for something. We know how to become comfortable, because the thing with independence is that our ego gets the best of us, right? And we play superiority, inferiority, or, you know, I don't need that shit, because it's about weak or strong. But depending on anybody, you know, you've depended on your parents, you've depended on people who have helped you, you've depended on people who you've learned from, you've depended on people who have given you joy in life. You've depended on the world to even exist, for you to even be this independent. Okay, now I ain't knocking independent. Like I said, I agree with it to an extent. But eventually the mindset has to drop, and you have to learn to take people back into your life. I thought that was a fucking bike behind me. Right? And when I realized I could take people back into my life, it was one of the smartest things I ever fucking did. Because I started to meet some of the best people in my life. Started to meet some great, awesome people that cared. That really touched my heart. People I could really vibe with. People that I could just go to in the mornings and put a smile on my fucking face. You know, feel comfortable being myself around. Because the universe finally saw I deserved it. You know? So I realized, you know, it's okay to let people back into my life. And the thing is that it's okay to rely on somebody for something, especially your emotional needs. Okay? Because let's be honest, a lot of the parents in America suck. And I know a lot of you guys are going to take that to heart, and I hope you do, because a lot of you guys are awful. Okay? And you're taking that from the kids. Why? Because we're the ones receiving it. You know, you're going to talk, oh, you don't know what it's like to parent. How are you going to parent? Trust me, you're going to be just like us. No, I'm not. Trust me, I know what it's... I've seen various parents, and I've dealt with parents. And meeting emotional needs is the #1 lack when it comes to a kid in this society. It's sad. But it's because we don't emphasize it enough. So I can get it. I get it. But besides the point. When I became okay, I let my ego down, and I let my guard down, and I allowed people to actually help me out. I allowed people to actually become a part of my projects. I allowed people to become a part of what I wanted to do. I allowed people to become a part of what I wanted in this time, and I'd actually fucking start to develop more knowledge. It'd take me further, and I'd actually feel better. Right? It's great feeling it alone. But there's something about when you find the right people in your life and they help you out, there's a comfortability with being dependent. Okay? Because here's the thing, dependents understand that it's okay to let somebody help you. It's okay to let somebody in, and it's okay to rely on somebody for certain things. Especially if those people want to help you. It's okay to take them in. Ain't nothing wrong with it. So when people want to help, man, bring them into your hearts. Dependent people understand this. However, the con with dependent people is that, you know, they tend to take that too far, and they never actually can do anything themselves. They never actually can follow through with anything on their side of the deal. So it's always the other person. It's always the other people's deal. There's always this guy's deal. It's always their deal. They were supposed to do this. They were supposed to do that. They were supposed to do this for me. Them. And you never take responsibility for yourself. Whereas the independent, if they mess up, they're going to take that for themselves. Like, that's my fault. That's my responsibility. Which is totally right. But a dependent ain't going to be so much on that. They're more likely to blame somebody else rather than themselves. You know? So, you know, dependent people, they know how to let people in. But if you let it go too far, you expect people to be the reason things get done instead of yourself. What I realize is that there's a perfect balance. Right? And independent are just tip overs. It's just too much on one side. Independent's great, but you tip over too much to independent, you become an island who doesn't want to need shit, and then you live in the rest of your life for coping mechanisms and stress, and eventually you end up losing your mind. Or you get too tipped over on dependent, you blame everybody for the rest of your life, you think the world's everyone's fault, you find ways to blame other people, you want to blame everybody for everything, and the reason that everything's wrong, you never actually know how to get anything done yourself because you never really found out what it was like to actually be the one to handle your own business. You never figured out what that was like. And then there's the right thing that you got to understand is that the universe is collaborative. It's all collaboration, baby. You find the right people that you got to mix with, this is what's going to happen. You find the right people that you work with. It's not going to be about ego. It's not going to be I do it myself, and it's not going to be you guys got to do it for me. It's how we're going to do this together. And that's what a dependent can understand, but it's what a dependent doesn't really follow through with. We got to do this shit together. Let the ego down. It is okay to let people, it's okay to rely on certain people for certain things. It's okay to let people help, and it's okay to let people come into your life. Yes, you need to be independent. You need to be accountable for your own fucking shit. That's when a good mindset comes in. I'm the one responsible. But you're responsible for a whole team, man. You're responsible for a whole mixing. Ain't nothing wrong with wanting to be on your own. But you can't be scared to work in a team either. So that's the other thing. And there's tons of reasons why people go independent. You know, typically because a lot of people leave our lives. And we get hurt by people, so we just end up being like, we're done with it. A lot of reasons people become dependent is because they never actually were put in a position where they had to do shit. You know, and there's tons of other reasons on that. I tend to understand the independent side a little more because that's where more I was at, right? But dependents usually never actually were in a position where they had to do stuff. They actually probably grew up in an environment where they were spoiled. You know, and there's probably more to it, but anyways, it's a collaborative process. Because here's the thing that I need you guys to understand. You have needs and you have wants. And this is probably the biggest point of this video, is that you got needs and you got wants. And somebody's gonna fulfill that shit. Some of those needs you can't meet. Some of those emotional needs, you aren't gonna be the one to fulfill it. You legit have to have another person to fulfill that need. Sometimes another person is actually what you need. It's the truth. You have wants and you have needs, and you can't unwant, you can't unneed something. You can't unneed food, you can't unneed water. What's gonna happen? You're gonna die. You can't unneed something that you emotionally, you can't unwant the fact that you just want to be held sometimes. You can't unwant the fact that you sometimes want a shoulder to cry on. You can't unwant the fact that you want somebody to just comfort you when you come home. You can't unwant the fact that you want, you know, and you want people who can cheer you up. You can't unwant these things, man. You got certain needs. You got certain weight. You got certain things that people need emotionally. And other people will be the responsibility to fulfill that. It will have to be. And you have to be vulnerable enough to say, it's okay, I'm gonna let you. Right? Instead of becoming closed-hearted, be like, oh, I don't care, I'm gonna just unneed, I'm gonna unwant, I don't need nobody to fulfill this, I can live without it, I don't have to want it, I'll just say fuck it, I'm not gonna get it. Then, you know, coping mechanisms kick in, and then you really encounter a new stress there, and then you wonder why life goes bad for you when it comes to emotions. You wonder why emotions tend to fuck you up so much. It's because you don't actually even embrace them. You just push them to the side and say, fuck it, I don't need them. But a lot of the deprivation of our emotional needs forms because of the fact that they weren't fulfilled in childhood, right? So we don't get that shit in childhood. And that's what a dependent understands. I can let somebody fulfill my needs. I can let somebody fulfill my emotional needs and wants. I can let somebody handle that because I can't do it all myself. Some things I can't hold myself at night. That shit, you know, I can't always do the things that I need emotionally. There's tons of emotional needs, man. Not everybody, you can't handle all of them. Some of them require another person in your life. You're gonna need to be nurtured, and there's nothing wrong with it. Growing all the way up. It's a collaborative process, though, at the end of the day. Be accountable for your own shit. Yeah, know who you are, be accountable for your own shit. Understand your philosophy, your idea, and your mind. But don't be scared to let other people come and work inside of the frames with you. And if they betray you, good. You know who needs to leave. When they show the true colors, boom, they out of the frame. Then you let somebody else come into the frame.